Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Hamvar. Today I'm doing the siblings tag again for the third time with the final brother, actually the oldest one. So this is my other brother. I've mentioned you, of course, in videos. Generally, when we were reading a book together or whatever, I think I have a tendency to
Right.
mention that in reviews.
Hasn't been
Um,
often recently.
yeah, and well, that's true. And you don't do like anything online right now, huh? You used to stream.
Yeah, no, I don't. Not at all. I'm too busy being a dad and working nonstop. So that's how it
Yeah.
goes.
But you got this cool like alien thing for your streams. Um,
Oh yes.
yeah, I don't. Is it an alien with like the head open? I can't remember actually. What is it?
Its brain is like
Yeah. Okay.
showing out of the top of its head. Yeah.
Yes. Very nice. Anyways, yeah. So this is Seamus. He
Hello.
is. The first one I did was with my twin brother Shane, if anyone remembers that, and then my younger brother Cullen, who I used to stream with, um, and then well, there's this one right here. No, this is Seamus. Seamus, you're like 4.5 years older than me, I think. Um,
6.
I thought you were
6 years
four.
older.
I thought you were 4.5 years older. How old are you?
What? I'm 30.
You're 30. Yeah, I'm 25. So I mean,
Oh, okay. I guess you were right.
maybe it's 5.5 years old. I don't remember.
Mm,
No, I don't know
something like that. Yeah.
math.
A few years.
Yes. Okay. Anyways, so if I was looking up to anyone when I was growing up, it was this idiot over here. So
Yeah.
um,
Wow. Why?
why not? No. Okay, but we are doing the siblings tag, so there are some questions. Uh, they're pretty straightforward. We'll probably have some pretty bad answers for some of them, but
Yeah.
we'll probably have okay answers for the rest.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe.
I mean, the first
Okay.
one's easy.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, question one is a book both you and your sibling have read.
There's a lot. Well, there's
Yes.
several. I don't know if I would say a lot.
What was the last one actually? Was that?
I think honestly the last one. Well, I mean, the last one we read together was Gardens of the Moon. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was over a year ago, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it was roughly a year ago.
It was about a year ago,
Yeah.
but I think a little over. I don't
Maybe it was
actually
over.
remember.
Yeah.
I
It was
think
roughly after I moved.
so.
So.
Yeah. So that'd be the
Um,
last one. Yeah.
that was a good one. But I mean, there's lots of others. But we didn't. Well, I don't know. What else did we read together?
Let's see. We read The Dying Earth together, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
And then did you finish Mega Structures?
No.
Okay.
The first story made me so angry, and then I
Oh,
just
really?
yeah.
I can't even remember like most of those stories. So,
um, what else? I swear there was something else before that, wasn't there?
well, we were supposed to read Rando Splicer together. Did you ever finish Rando Splicer?
I don't know if I finished that
Or is
actually.
that the one you're still on for
Yeah, I think
Spiral
that's
Wars?
yeah. I think I like barely started it and then started something else instead or something.
Yeah. Well, even then, I guess. What is
But
this question? This
I
question
was
is
like,
asking if it's something we've both read. So technically, we didn't have to read it at the same time, anyways.
oh right,
But
yeah, no, I mean there's lots of that because we've both read The New Sun and
yeah, you
lots
haven't
of
read Earth
Brandon
though.
Sanderson books.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
And we both read Dune. Yeah, that was one
Oh
of them.
yeah, we read Dune together. That was one of them. That was great. I loved
Uh,
Dune.
yeah, I like Dune. Have you read the second one? I don't think you
Nope.
have.
You did you give me that one? I think I have that one. You sent it to me, I
I think
think.
I did. Yeah,
Yeah. I haven't read
that
it yet.
sounds right. They actually just came out. I think they just did, or maybe they're coming out soon. The matching copies for like that first Dune book that we have, that nice like sprayed edge one.
Oh, really?
They're coming out with matching copies for books 2 and 3, um,
Interesting.
the like, deluxe edition or whatever.
The the one with
Yeah,
the blue pages?
yeah. I don't
That
know if
thing's awesome.
the next ones have blue pages, but
Right.
there's some color. So I need to read the third one's Children of Dune. I think it's a little longer. The second one's really short, actually. It's
Is the
like
second one Messiah or is that
yeah, it's Dune
yeah.
Messiah. I like Dune Messiah actually. I think a lot of people don't really like it after reading Dune because you get to Messiah and like I think a lot of people are like that character arc that he's on in the first one. They think it like switches gears into the second one. I don't really feel that way, but It's definitely weird. I hear it gets way weirder. So
I'm gonna have to give it a try and see what I think.
yeah,
I
I listened
guess.
to that one on audio actually, so
Mm.
it's not a terribly long one.
I do a lot of those. Well, that was the problem with the Spiral Wars for me. I marathoned the first 5 because Rando Splicer's
Yes.
6, right?
Yeah, it is.
I literally just like listened to them all on audiobook back to back, and then I just kind of got a little burnt out, I guess. So I haven't gone back yet.
Probably. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Which one was your favorite of those actually?
Favorite? Which one? What was 4?
4 is Defiance or Defiant or
Yeah,
let's
I
see
think
what it is.
that one.
Defiance, I
I
think.
think that's the one.
Yeah,
Because
that was my
5.
favorite.
What's the name of 5 again? I don't even remember the titles of the
Chroma
book.
Venture. Chroma Venture is a little slower.
Yeah, that one. Well, it starts out slow.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
then
still good.
yeah, they were all good. I think there was one of them that I wasn't like overly amazed with. Maybe it was Chroma Venture though. I don't
I
remember
think
which one it was.
of the first 5, I think Chroma Venture is the weakest.
I'd have to go back and look at my reviews.
And in some ways, it's like the world has gotten a lot bigger, and so like there's a bit more slower times, kind of. It kind of carries over into the books after that too. So Rando Splicer I thought was better than Chroma Venture, but there's still some slow parts, and Kalea, whatever the hell it's called, Drop
Right.
is kind of similar. I like Seafake Queen a lot, but I mean, it got noticeably thicker as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next book after that's even thicker. And I swear it was supposed to be 10 books. I swear I saw somewhere saying it was supposed to be 10 books. And then when I told some other guy on BookTube that it was supposed to be 10 books, the guy mentioned that, the book series being 10 books in a video of his. The author is like, I don't know where he heard it's going to be 10 books. I was like, I swear I did not make that up. But apparently it's supposed to be longer than that. So
oops. I don't know. Maybe it was originally, but I guess if that was the case, then perhaps what's his name, Joel Shepard?
Yeah.
Perhaps he wouldn't have said that. I don't know. Either way.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. They're really good books, though.
They're great. Yeah.
I've caught up finally. So whenever he comes out with book 9, I will read that. So
I'll get there someday. my huge backlog that I've amassed.
Yeah, man. I'm sure that'll come up again. But I guess we should go on to question 2.
Yeah.
Well, we did actually read the Solar War too. I think both of us.
The Solar War.
Did you
finish
right. that?
I finished what?
The Warhammer book?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The ending was crazy.
Yeah, that was a wild book.
Yeah.
We never talked about it though, so I couldn't remember.
I guess we
did.
I feel like we maybe you weren't present for it for some reason because I remember Cullen and I going on about it.
Yeah, you had a conversation, but then like when I get on there and you're like, you guys have had like 100 messages back and forth, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I read it.
Makes it difficult to catch up.
Yeah, so I did enjoy that one though.
It was definitely interesting.
Okay, yeah. I guess question 2 though. Let's see, a book you want your sibling to read. I'll just say Dead House Gates for this one, since I know you're kind of thinking about finally getting to it anyways. So did you start it? I can't even remember. Did you actually start that at one point?
I did start it. I think I got like 100 pages in too, and then
okay.
I don't remember why I stopped. I don't know. That was a weird time. I think that was like literally all I was reading around that time. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I just felt like I was too busy, and unfortunately I get that way sometimes. So
happens.
That's a good one. I do want to start that. I'm trying to think of something that I wish my bookshelf was in here rather than in the other room so I could look at it.
I don't know, man.
Well, you've only read the first book of The Long Sun, correct?
That is true, yes.
So, oh gosh, what's the name of the second one?
It's Lake of the Long Sun.
Yeah, that's right. Because there's a lot of lake stuff going on in that one.
Wow.
That one, it gets crazy. It's nuts. I want you to read that for sure. And I already know that's in your plans to read it anyway, but
this is true.
I'm kind of waiting to read the third one to just read it with you.
Oh yeah, because Did you ever start Calday?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I got Lake right here. So.
Oh, nice.
I wants to read.
It's so good, and it's just it makes you think so much, which I like.
Yeah, honestly, I really like the first one. I mean, I didn't like it as much as Shadow of the Torturer, but it's just different. So I mean,
as I believe I've told you before, I currently, having only read 2 of the books, am liking the Book of the Long Sun more than I liked the Book of the New Sun, which I feel like I'm probably in the minority on that opinion, but
probably.
yeah, it's awesome, and it just I feel like it takes the second Lake of the Long Sun takes a weird turn, because in the first book there's not, I don't feel like there's anything overly crazy that happens.
No, there's some weird stuff, but I don't know
Yeah,
if I'd call anything crazy.
yeah,
So
and it gets kind of crazy. So
I look forward to that. I mean, that's one of the things I liked about New Sun is that it's just wacky,
yeah,
like basically the entire time, and I mean it's compelling, but it's not just like a bunch of weird stuff.
the way Gene Wolfe writes it is just so great. It's like, he's like describing something that's happening, and you're like, what is this? And you can kind of puzzle it together, like, okay, it kind of sounds like this, but the character doesn't understand how to describe it in a way that our minds, way back in the past, so to speak, would understand it completely. If that made
Right.
any sense, if what I just said just made any sense.
No, yeah, no. He's really good at doing like a what's the word? I guess you could call it like
Well,
the perspective is like
yeah,
very. It's not our perspective.
the
Like
unreliable narrator, right? That's his thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but there's totally like a point in I think it might be Shadow of the Torturer, one of the Book of New Sun books, where he's like it's a picture of the moon landing. It totally is, but he doesn't describe it like how we would at all. So
I feel like I vaguely remember that. I mean, I remember the Citadel. Is it called the Citadel? I don't remember.
uh
Where he's growing up or whatever.
the Matachin Tower or
Oh yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I
That's
think.
totally like an old rocket ship, right? Like a
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah. He uses like he'll call it instead of walls, he'll call it like bulkheads. So
Yeah.
like he's telling you what it is. He's just not being like, oh yeah, he lives in a rocket ship. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Um well, I guess I don't want to spoil anything. I was going to say what my favorite part of that series was, but maybe I shouldn't. So,
Yeah, no, go read Gene Wolfe, everyone.
yeah.
There was something like that in the Fifth Head of Cerberus when I was just reading that. He was describing these people as dendritic. I was like, that is not an anthropological term to describe a way like people. I was like, that describes plants, and so that made me really confused. So
What was the word?
dendritic, like dendrites. So
I don't even know
like
what that is.
or like I think that has something to do with like roots. I'm not really
Huh.
sure, honestly, but I was like, that is not how we describe people. Like, so are these people plants? Like, I'm really confused. It's really confusing. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I'm still have not puzzled that one out completely. I puzzled out the first story, I think, pretty well, but not the two and well, maybe a little bit of three, but not two really all that well. I don't think two is confusing because it's told from the point of view of these aliens, and so it's just like, yeah, I don't, I don't speak this. Like, it's
Interesting.
so.
That sounds very confusing, perhaps.
Yeah,
I
well,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
they're aliens that are potential. They're like people don't know if they exist because they have taken the form of humans. Basically, they're like shape shifting aliens, kind of, and they seem to have like just oh, we're gonna be humans now type of thing. So like, did they ever exist type of stuff, and like what defined them? It's really confusing. It's hella
Gene
confusing.
Wolfe clearly had a pretty strong interest in that type of thing.
Yes, no, it's great. I like it. No, Gene Wolfe was so freaking good. Anyways, I could talk about Gene Wolfe all the time though.
Yeah,
And
we could probably sit here and talk for a couple hours about that.
Yeah, man. I've read a couple of his short stories too, and those are pretty good.
I
So,
read one that oh
oh yeah,
god, what's
that.
it called? Something about a wolf.
Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe they were vampire. They were like flesh-eating people. It was very strange. I
Yeah, I
don't
remember
remember
you telling me that.
huh?
I remember you telling me about it.
Yeah.
Like you found it in the bookstore, and you're just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna read this because it's Gene Wolfe."
Yeah, I found it in my local used bookstore, and it's like this real tiny little short story, but buy it like a standalone copy. And I was just like, yeah, Gene Wolfe, I'm buying it. It was like $5, I think, so whatever.
Jeez, yeah. I think Wolfe actually passed away in Peoria, so yeah.
Oh, I feel like that's very weird, but that does sound familiar. I think I heard that, or I perhaps read it on his wiki or something.
Yeah. Anyways, wait, did you tell me? Oh yeah, you told me like a long time. Okay, so
Yeah, I
let's.
mean, that's that's an easy out, I suppose.
No, right, and I did the same thing with Deadhouse Gates. So,
Because we had just talked about it.
yeah, so that's fine. That's fine. Completely fine. Um, there are no. Wow, you can hear my kids. Um, anyways, a character most like your sibling is question 3. I had a hard time answering this with Colin and Shannon.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if I could even name a character most like myself, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
isn't there one oh, I thought there was a question that was something along the lines of like a character that you maybe there is. I'm not gonna sit here and make us wait and read this thing. But anyway, I don't know. Do you have an idea? I don't know if I have an idea at all.
Most like you? Oh my. You know, the thing, it's hard to tell sometimes because most of these stories are like science fiction and like
Right.
fantasy. They're mostly action oriented. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, uh, I don't think of my brothers in that sense generally. So,
Yeah.
oh, we read Ringworld together, by the way, too. And
Oh, that's
Ringworld and
right.
Daggers and the
That
Integral
was
Trees.
and the
That's
integral trees. Ah, I hated that book.
yeah, I didn't like that one either. I just saw it on my bookshelf. That's what reminded
There you
me.
go. Yeah.
So, um, gosh, I don't know.
So when I was looking at these questions, the first thing that came to my mind was that like when I'm reading a book, um, well, most of like you said, what I read has been science fiction and fantasy. Although I have started delving into some like really old fiction and
Mm-hmm.
um, like some economic stuff and some political stuff, which just because it's interesting to me. And so anyway, when I'm reading science fiction and fantasy, I'm not really like thinking about the real world whatsoever or imagining myself or anyone that I know in the positions of these characters. Like my brain doesn't necessarily work like that. I'm more just reading it and um in being entertained by it, I suppose. It's kind of like a little bit of an escape, which I believe you and I have talked about before. So
Yes.
um so that makes it really difficult because like I said, I don't really think about, oh man, this person sounds like Liam, you know what I mean? Like um which
yeah.
kind of goes right along with what you said. So you know, I guess if I were to I don't know. That's difficult.
Yeah, I'm
Did
not
you
really
have did
sure.
you have an example? I don't know.
I'm
I don't
I'm still trying to think. I'm like, because like the thing I can think of, I don't read a lot of fiction that's like contemporary in a way, or right, or horror. A lot of horror set in like the real world kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was like, so I was like, maybe if I could think of someone like that, then like, because obviously I think of you in the real world. So I'm like, but I don't know still really. So because
Yeah.
I did the thing with Shannon. I think I actually came up with someone for Shannon, and then but in some ways it just comes off as mostly insulting because it's just like only one aspect of that character is really
Yeah.
what makes me think of Shannon or whatever, and so not like the rest of the character.
Right.
Um,
I mean, if I were to break down myself, for example, like typically um I describe myself as a little bit of a jerk sometimes. I don't use that word. I typically call myself an a-hole, um, which, uh, and then typically most people are like, oh, you're just a little abrasive, like it's not, uh, but I don't necessarily like, even with saying that, I can't think of a character that was necessarily like that out of any book that I read. This is just me being hard on myself and breaking my own personality.
Yeah.
What I feel like.
Yeah, I could see you in some sense if I were to pair you with Cullen.
Yeah,
Because I
we're
feel
very
like out of
similar.
all of us, you two are the ones hanging out the most, and you have pretty similar interests in a lot of ways. So,
Yeah.
I guess I could kind of compare you to two of my favorite fantasy characters who are in a lot of ways really similar as well, and they're Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. And I mean, I think of them they get drunk together and stuff like that, and then they have great adventures. So I was like, yeah, I mean, Seamus and Cullen a little bit there. I don't think I could put you as Fafhrd or the Grey Mouser. Just like, just you and Cullen as
Yeah,
Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser kind of makes sense to me. So
that's fair. Pretty appropriate, and definitely true. But I mean, I haven't
if
read
you
any of
can't
those
think of
books,
anything, that's
so
fine. But yeah, you should read Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. Actually, it's quite good. I talk about it actually quite often on the channel. So
I don't want to just not have something, but it's super difficult.
excuse me. Wow.
I don't know but with both you and Shannon, when you guys are both super determined and hardworking. That's how I like imagine you guys. But I don't know that I have. Well, no. I almost said Kaladin, but I don't know that he's kind of just depressed and but he's still determined in my mind.
That's true. I'd say he's determined.
For sure. But that's not I don't. I think I'm gonna have to leave it at that. But I don't have a really good one, unfortunately.
It's hard. I will just write in one of my stories a fictional character name like Musha or something like that, and then like totally just make him a copy of you.
Well, he'll have to be, I suppose, very stubborn and argue about everything, essentially. That's how I look at myself.
Is that how you look at yourself? Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know if argue about everything. I could
But I
kind of
mean,
see.
people are always harder on themselves, right? Like,
Right. Yes, for sure. Definitely. That sounds like dad to me. So I mean, like,
well, I mean,
and in some ways, I know we're all of us are a lot like dad. So
yeah.
but
Well, see, and I mean, I would definitely say that that's a trait that all four of us as brothers share. I think we're all a little stubborn, for sure. Like, I most of us, I think, are willing to oh, how do I put this? Are willing to change, or but it's not easy. Is, I guess, the simplest way I could put it.
we're willing to be humble in some ways.
There we go.
Though we have a tendency to be stubborn, I think,
Yeah.
which I think is pretty normal actually as far as human beings go. But still, I mean,
Is it? I mean,
so
yeah,
is it?
maybe.
I don't know. That's my guess.
Maybe. I mean, I certainly know a lot of people like that, but I wouldn't say that about everyone that I know. But
I guess that's
yeah.
fair. There's a lots of different types of people out there. I just know stubbornness itself is kind of quite a common trait.
Yeah. Well,
I don't
I can
know.
agree.
Humility is
I can
probably
agree.
not all that much, though. To be honest. So sad as that is to say. Anyways, anyways, we can leave it at that. That's fine.
Yeah. See,
Let's
this
see.
next one's not any easier.
I was actually a book with a sibling dynamic most like your own. And I think with Cullen and Shannon, I just put like maybe I tried to find like a twin relationship, for Shannon, and then for Cullen and I, it was just like I just tried to find one that there was a younger sibling and an older sibling. So, but I can't even remember. That was forever ago. I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, how many books you've read? An absorbent, like way more books than I've read in my life, in our lifetimes. But what I was gonna say was how many books that you've read actually have characters with siblings. Like,
It's not that common.
Yeah.
All things considered. I mean, there was a trope, of course, of siblings, right? You could say, but in most stuff, your family is either just like not there or they're all dead, essentially, in a lot of cases. So, which is one thing I actually like about Spiral Wars is that Eric and what's her name, Liz
Yeah,
or
what
something like
was her
that?
name?
Is it?
That was the one that I was gonna. Well, that was one that I was gonna bring up. I don't know that I would say that their
Yeah,
dynamic is anything similar to ours. I mean,
yeah. I don't know if it is either. But it's a sibling dynamic, so I mean, it's something. It's
yeah.
better than
Well,
nothing.
it's all it. I don't remember them. They didn't have any bad type of relationship like at all, did they? I mean,
um,
they definitely
no.
became
Well,
more close.
Eric has like a protective thing with her at the beginning
Yeah,
for
at the beginning,
sure.
yeah.
Um, he's very protective. But he's in military, right? And so I mean, like in some ways, she's just as accomplished as him. In other ways, she's actually more accomplished than him.
Yeah.
Because he's accomplished basically just by circumstances. But he is a military man. And she's not, so that he's a little protective of her. Besides the fact that he's just her older brother, anyways.
Oh, Lisbeth.
Elizabeth, yeah, okay, that's what it was.
I had to look it up.
Or
It was
Rizbeth
bothering me.
as for the Ska. Is that his name?
Oh,
The Kusi, whatever I think his name is.
yeah, the little boy or
Rizbeth.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name was Ska. Why'd they name him Ska? Or was that his name when
I
he
think that
came
was
on the
probably
show?
his name.
Yeah, maybe it was.
I don't know. But yeah, I can think of a lot of other siblings. Hell, I'm sure there's plenty, still that I've read, but like
The only other one that
don't
I can
pop
think
out.
of is what was Kaladin's younger brother's name?
Oh shoot, yeah. I don't remember his name actually. It's been a while.
That sucks. Why? That's bad that we can't remember his name.
Oh man. I feel like it's like on the tip of my tongue, but it starts with like a T, doesn't it? I thought it
I'm
did.
looking it up right now because I refuse to.
You could go to the copper mine or
Wait,
whatever.
Tien?
Tian?
Or is that?
Okay, that sounds kind of right.
You did say it starts with a T.
Pretty sure it does. Pretty sure. Huh. I don't know. But there's like no siblings, I feel like, in anything I read. Oh, besides like Boromir and Faramir, I guess, in Lord of the Rings, those are siblings.
Oh man.
We don't have actually Boromir and Faramir have like kind of a nice relationship. It's just a dad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No, and I wouldn't necessarily compare any of those to
yeah, I
ours.
don't. Darn, man, we should read more books with siblings.
Well, that's like
there's like none. I can't think of like any. It's either like one is dead, or like, and that might be like an inspiring thing for the character. But in most cases, they're just not there for whatever reason.
right. Yeah, man.
I'm
This is
looking at
a
all my freaking books. I'm just like, any
well,
of these books have siblings in them? I can't think.
like I get the questions make sense because this is a sibling tag, so they wanted to add sibling questions and tie them in with books, but I don't think it always works, unfortunately.
Right. No. Yeah, I don't. I'm having a hard time with this one. I see another series with siblings in it, but those siblings are nothing like us. So, um, I and there's another Sun Eater has siblings in it, but they're not anything like us either. So I mean,
I haven't read that yet.
it's like the older brother doesn't get along with his younger brother at all, and I don't feel like we ever didn't get along, really, like ever. So
No.
and that's a pretty typical sibling dynamic, I guess. So
Right.
if you are gonna have siblings, yeah, I'm just not gonna answer this one because I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we just had a weird life, and meaning like I don't know. We didn't. I mean, of course we fought because that's normal because kids do that, but like we never really were like
True.
like
Never
on
hated your
like a
guts.
on like a yeah, exactly. There was never any bad blood, so to
Yeah,
speak.
I definitely did not get along with Cullen, but he's really the only one there.
Yeah.
So.
I think that kind of happens to the youngest sibling a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was so much younger than me. Like, I don't know. Now he's like my best friend, but like, I think that's pretty common as well for like,
Yeah, I think so.
for like the oldest and the youngest to bond. But even then, like, I think part of it also was that I was substantially older than all of you guys. So like,
It's true.
yeah, I was just kind of like doing my own thing, and then I'd be like, "Hey guys, check out RuneScape," and then and then we'd all invest 10 years of our lives in that game, and
I know,
whatever.
dude. So much of that stuff is all just because it's stuff. I don't even know where you found this stuff. Maybe from school, but I mean, like,
Yeah,
I'm just like, I'm still over here singing Fallout Boy and
yeah,
thinking about. I don't play really RuneScape anymore. I feel like I'm the only one who doesn't actually, but
yeah. I
so,
still do
but
from time to time.
I
I've been
still
getting
think
the itch a
about it.
little bit recently, actually.
I downloaded it on my phone like probably 2 years ago, and that's probably the last time I played. So,
Oh, it's better that you don't.
I know, no, that's why I don't know. So.
Should we should we call this a we are bad at this and move on to the next one?
Yeah, well, I'll probably end up splitting it at this point, anyways, like I did with Cullen and Shannon. So,
I
hey,
don't even know how long it's
5.
been.
Well, these are. It says 31 minutes, so I mean, it's.
Oh, you're right. It does. I didn't see that up there.
Yeah. Okay. 5. Okay, a book that annoyed you. So this is, of course, assuming that we annoy each other, which does happen, of course. And then so a book that annoyed me. I generally just try to go with the most recent one. And what the
Well,
hell?
we both have one that we read together. We already mentioned it.
Oh yeah, the Integral Trees.
The Integral
Yes.
Trees. And
Yeah, that
I
book is
feel like you
annoying.
mentioned that in one of your other sibling tags, actually.
I think I might have. Yeah, it was.
Maybe with
It's been
Cullen.
a
I don't know.
while, honestly. It's been like almost 2 years since we read that, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
It was such a interesting concept, and it was all right for a large portion of the book, and then it just gets really weird
yeah.
and annoying, and it's just like,
Well, there was one scene in particular. There's a sex scene that I'm just like, yeah, what? Because
I would
like, I'm gonna describe it real quick. Basically, this chick, they're trying to escape, right? And this guy's a doctor, and he's trying to escape as well because they already know each other essentially, right? And then he's just like, he has to like give her a checkup, and she's naked basically, and so that turns him on, and he's like, yo, can you help me out basically, and like, can we have sex essentially? And then she's like,
yeah.
yeah, sure. And I was like, what? So like, I was just like, what
Yeah, it
the
was awful.
hell?
It was awful. And that just seems to be Larry Niven's thing, unfortunately.
Yes, he's actually
Except for
still
it,
alive.
huh?
He's actually still alive.
He has several other books that I want to read, like The Moat in
Mhm.
God's Eye, but that
Yeah,
I believe that was like there were two authors on that one. I don't remember
yeah, I
which one.
hear he's better with a co-author.
Well,
So
the
I
first
liked
Ringworld,
Ringworld though.
the first
Ringworld's
Ringworld is
awesome.
fantastic. I recommend that book to lots of people.
Yeah,
Although there
Ringworld is
is sex
great.
in that book as well, but
Yeah,
it's not weird.
yes, I agree.
But then the second book, it's weird. The second
Yes,
Ringworld.
which is why we haven't read
Yeah.
the third one, Ringworld Throne or whatever the
Well,
heck it is. So.
I from what I heard of it, there's more of that in the third one, and I've thought about just skipping it and moving on to the fourth book, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't want
Ringworld
to do
is so good. I just don't want to skip the series.
right,
Like not finish the rest of it. And
right.
because it's still cool. I mean, there's still parts of the engineers that was cool, like the vampire race. I thought was pretty cool, even though everyone's sleeping with each other still, right? So it's like it's not cool, but like it's still cool in a
Yeah,
sense. Or like I think we finally see like a city. I thought in Ringworld Engineers, like kind of.
a
I'm
city.
I'm pretty sure there's like a settlement where people are actually living,
Yeah,
and not just like a village type thing.
there
Um,
there was, and well, I don't know if I want to spoil anything actually, but maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. What I'll say that's positive about Larry Niven is his he did a great job in the first Ringworld of like making you understand the vastness of the world, of the
mm,
ring world, and like how truly like unfathomably large the world really was, and that's part of what felt like it felt great reading that book. I don't know.
no, it was magical almost.
Yeah.
It's like reading Lord of the Rings for the first time in some sense. I mean, it's not on the same level, but
Sure.
like it's really cool. It's really
Yeah.
awesome. Um, and I think Niven has these really cool big ideas.
Sure,
his
yeah.
characters kind of suffer a lot,
I
actually.
think
So
what was the name of the main character in that guy who's like really old, but
see,
it's the
yeah,
future,
right.
so
Like,
being
what is
old.
his name?
I can't remember.
I
I can't remember what his name
could
is,
probably
but
look
I
it up,
thought he was a
actually.
good character.
Yeah, I thought he was fine too.
Um, as far as I would recently I started reading Dostoevsky, and I'm reading this notes
Oh, Notes from the Underground.
Notes
Yeah.
from the Underground, The Double, and Other Stories. And the first story in the book is The Double, and it's his only third-person narrated book, and it is very interesting, but very confusing and frustrating. The main character will just like go on rambling, and something that I've noticed about, at least so far, reading Dostoevsky, I'm only on the third story in the book, which is Notes of the Underground. He has this thing where a page is an entire paragraph. He has paragraphs that are whole pages long.
Yikes.
And it'll even go into the next bit, and it's like, oh man, this is just,
I
give
hate
me a
that.
break, man. But it's good. I enjoy it. It's just like,
Yeah.
sometimes that's a little.
You're right. Like, I get a little sense of like completion when I finish a paragraph and then a chapter in a book,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah.
So it's like when your paragraphs are so freaking long. So I
Well,
really don't like that.
and maybe it's maybe I just suck at reading, but like, or maybe it's just the writing, because I don't feel like I suck at reading. But when it just goes on and doesn't stop, it makes me feel like it's taking a million years to finish it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
I feel you.
that was two. See, I had two for that question.
Yeah. No, yeah, I would say that as far as like recent reads go, I don't read I generally tend to stay away from stuff I think I won't like,
Yeah.
or annoy me that much. But recent reads, there's a book, Babel, I read last year by R.F. Kuang, which I really did not know.
Was that
So,
is that a sci-fi book?
no, actually it's a dark academia book. It's the only one I've
Uh,
ever read. It's pretty popular. It's probably the most popular book I read last year.
hmm.
It's brand new, and I was like, oh, okay, like she has another series called The Poppy War. And
That sounds familiar.
yeah, that I've seen that one. That's been in the stores like Barnes and Noble for years, or a couple of years at least. And it doesn't sound very interesting to me, but I was like, this dark academia thing like actually deals with language, like with
Ah,
philology.
yeah.
It's like 19th century Oxford. I was like, hey, this could be cool. It's not. It sucks. So just to be honest, it sucks. So anyways, that's the recent one. But yeah, those are
Fair enough. I'm glad that we both had the one in common, at least.
yes.
I don't
And
think
we're pretty
anything else
small.
that we've read together, I don't think I've felt that way. Well, I guess Megastructures, because I didn't even finish it. So,
Shame.
well, I should. I mean, I still
There's
have
some
it.
good
So,
stories in there. The one story I remember the most was like, in some ways, my least favorite, but like I just this really like memorable for some reason. So like,
interesting.
but yeah, yeah, that one. Anyways,
What's the next one?
hey, a character that annoyed you.
Oh,
Um, well, one that you've read, I guess, is Sadius from
oh,
Sadius,
Sedaeus.
from
Yeah, I was like, what are you
Grimline
saying?
Archive. Yeah, he's annoying. So
Yeah,
he's
he
supposed
was
to be
annoying.
annoying. So I
Yeah.
mean, so that's good. At least
So
he's not a
yeah,
character that's like not supposed to be annoying, but really is. I have a lot of annoying characters. I feel like when I read R.A. Salvatore, he who writes Drizzt, the Legend of
yeah.
Drizzt. So yeah, I find most of his characters annoying too. But so.
I find most of them annoying.
One time or the other, they're freaking annoying. So
Yeah.
he sucks. He sucks with characters. That basically, just put it bluntly, he's bad. So
Characters that aren't meant to be annoying. Are we sure though? Are we sure? Maybe they were meant to be annoying.
are we sure? Well, it depends on, I feel like, how much it affects the book, right? Because like
Yeah,
Thaddeus is supposed to be, right? Because like it works really well in the book.
for
You know what I
sure.
mean? But like someone like Drizzt is not supposed to be annoying. He's the main character, and the stuff that you're finding The stuff I find annoying is a lot of people don't find annoying, for example. So,
yeah, you've always made it sound like that's just not great writing by R.A. Salvador. Is it Salvador or Salvatore?
Salvatore.
Okay, that's right. Well, just off the top of my head, the only one that is really coming out to me is the main character from The Double that I was just talking about. His name's Mr. Goliadkin. I can't remember what his full name is. It's very long, and I think it's on purpose. And I think he's schizophrenic. So that's not very nice to call him annoying, but it was the 1800s when this was written. So, but good Lord, is it tough? I think it's a very interesting story, and it made me think, so I liked it, but it's a tough read. And he, like I was mentioning earlier, he just, like at the very beginning of the book, he has this conversation with this doctor, and he's just rambling nonsense, and it just makes no sense, like zero sense. And I'm just trying to piece it together, like, what is this guy even trying to convey, like, other than that the author is conveying that the character has an issue, basically. Well, the book's ancient, so I'm just going to say it. There's this part in the book where, it's called The Double, so I guess it's not too spoilery that the main character has a double. But I'm not sure that the double actually ever exists. But anyway, there's this part when you first encounter the double where he's just chasing this figure, and you don't know what the figure is or who he looks like. And eventually, when he finally catches up to him, it's revealed that he was chasing himself. And I was blown away by that. And maybe that sounds pathetic that I was blown away by it, but it was written really well, and it was very interesting. And I was talking about it to other people who aren't even really readers. I was like, guys, I'm reading this book, and this happened, and I think this is what's going on, that type of thing. But the character was annoying. Still liked the story.
Huh. Interesting. I need to read Dostoevsky. He's actually on my list of guys I want to read, classics specifically. I want to read this year. So
we as we know, Shannon is a big fan and yes, converted Cullen into a big fan. And I whenever they were telling us about it, and I was always just kind of like, oh, this doesn't sound interesting to me. And then I stumbled upon this YouTube video talking about Notes from the Underground, and I was like, this sounds awesome. And so I went out and bought one of the books. So here we are. So this person in this YouTube video did a better job than Cullen and Shannon did.
Wow, we should tell them. I don't even have any of his books, so I need to. One, I guess.
I think you'll like it, but I've since then bought a couple other really old things from the time. I got The Myth of Sisyphus by Camus, and Shannon recommended me a couple other things down that sort of path. I got The Mask and the Margarita. I'm excited about that one.
Who wrote that?
Mikhail Bulga something or another Russian guy.
Oh, okay.
Sounds awesome. But I don't know if I want to. I'll find you the name of the Mikhail Bulgakov. There we go.
Wow. Okay, I don't think I've heard that one.
It's another one of those real old Russian classics. Well, 1967, so that's not as old as Dostoevsky, but
not ancient. No.
Right.
Yeah, I like reading classics. I don't feel like I read. I felt like I haven't read enough, so I've kind of made a goal again to read more this year. I've already read a decent amount. I guess as far as considering it's the 22nd rather of January, so we're still in month number 1. So, but I read the 3 I would call classics maybe that I read this year. One's Le Morte d'Arthur, so it's 15th century, so pretty classic. And then one is The Song of Roland, which is 10th century or maybe 11th century.
Wow.
So, and then the other one I read that was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is just
Right.
1880s, I think. So, but
yeah, I was never really interested, and now all of a sudden I am. I don't know. I've always been like a really big fan of history, and it's kind of just taken me
same.
to these books all of a sudden, so.
No, there's a lot of good stuff, honestly. I think in fact, I'd say there's too much
Of
in
course.
some sense, right?
Yeah.
Like I've realized for years that I'm never going to read all the stuff I want to
Right.
before I die. So,
Yep, understand that. Oh, you know what? I was just listening to some audiobook of some random book that, no one wants to read. I couldn't find the only physical copies of it I could find online were like $400 or $500.
wow.
But someone put it as an audiobook on YouTube. And it's like being read by one of those almost like a text to speech type of
Oh
thing.
yeah.
But I listened to it. It was 10
Nice.
hours.
Wow. Hope it was good.
Yeah, it's a historical book. It's
Yeah. If
World in
you
Peril. It's about this like aviation crew during the Cold, or well, during
oh,
the very start of the Cold War in the late 40s, where they traveled up to Alaska to try and map the North Pole, essentially, because they were afraid that the Soviets were gonna attack America from the north. Anyway,
huh.
yeah,
That's interesting. I you don't have Audible membership right now, do you? Or
I do.
okay, I know there's a lot of classics on there that are in their like Plus library or whatever. So like Frankenstein's in there. I was gonna
Oh,
listen to
cool.
that one soon. There's a lot like Count of Monte Cristo, Frankenstein. The Castle of Otranto, which is considered the first Gothic novel. So and
I'll have to
Dr. Jekyll and
look.
Mr. Hyde actually, and it's only 3 hours. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to this. It's only 3 hours. Song of Roland also is in there. It's only 3 hours as well. So
No, yeah, I'll check them out. Audible has a lot of good, like, I've ran into like a lot of interesting stuff that I wanted to read that was just free on
yeah,
there, or like,
right. There's another. I don't know if they have like an official app. I found an app that like has their audiobooks in it, but it's LibriVox, which means like free voice, right? And so it's just like or book voice. I'm not actually sure because
huh?
free liberty and book, like a library type thing, are
Oh yeah.
really similar words in Latin. Um, I haven't looked at it well enough, but it's just free audiobooks, and I know you can listen like on your computer, but I'm like never on my computer, of course, right? I think I have one on my phone. So, but there's other ones on there, of course, like Paradise Lost and Crashing on Detroit's, like romances and stuff, and a bunch of other stuff. But, anyways, you probably wouldn't like Paradise Lost, but so let's see. Maybe it's like 17th century, like epic poetry about about Satan, basically. It's the one that casts Satan as a more than a one-dimensional character or two-dimensional. What the hell is the word? He like has an arc and he's got like feelings type of thing. He's not just straight evil.
The
So
the Master and the Margarita is the description of the book, like, on the what's the thing called where it gives you the description of the book on
like
the
the
book?
blurb.
Yeah, the blurb. There
Whatever.
you go. Let's see. It's set in Moscow in the 1930s, where Satan appears at Patriarch's Pond as Professor Woland, and he's accompanied by blah blah blah. All these. Anyway, so that book right there is about Satan. So there you go. Well,
that's funny.
at least that's, yeah.
The one space trilogy I read by C.S. Lewis is like, it's like sci-fi, but I would specifically call it like Christian sci-fi
That's
because like the
weird.
bad guy is straight up Satan, basically. So it's
Oh,
pretty interesting.
interesting.
It's philosophical. Actually, it's pretty enjoyable, to be honest. Like the second book, especially, is like cool as hell, I think. But yeah. Anyways, we should continue. Anyways,
Should.
let's see.
Yeah.
7, a book series you have ups and downs with, but at the end of the day, love it. I think I mentioned this with the others as well, as like how deep are these ups and downs, because like obviously I enjoyed some parts less than others, so I mean like at just about any series. But right, like I could say like Fafnir and the Grey Mouse, or book 6 and 7, the last two, are like noticeably worse than the first 5. and 7 is noticeably worse than 6, to be honest too. So, but I still love the series, right? So, or even like book 5, right, of Spiral Wars is worse, but still great. So,
I think that there's really only a couple options I could pick. I've read far less series than you. I have this problem where I'll start one and then I'm like, man, I really want to read this too. And so I start something else. And then, so that's a problem for me. So the series that I've gone the farthest in are the Spiral Wars, because I think I've started up to the 6th book. So that's certainly the longest one that I've gone the farthest in. Stormlight Archive, I don't really think I could say that I've had any ups or downs with. It was just great the whole way through. Same with Mistborn. So I guess I would have to pick Spiral Wars. Other than that, I guess I Book of the New Song and that whole series. And the only, I loved that whole experience. So I can't really say I had any ups and downs. So I guess I'm picking Spiral Wars, but I certainly love the series.
Good, me too, sir. Right, we answered that one quickly.
Yes.
8, a book series inside out.
Inside and out.
Yeah, I guess
is what I assume that's supposed to say. Yeah.
I could probably put a lot of the series I read, but just the classic answer for me, probably like the Lord of the Rings. So
yeah, that's fair.
I'm not as up to date as I used to be, but still.
I don't know if I even could say that I know any inside and out. Unless we want to count like Star Wars. I have a lot of Star Wars knowledge, and I've read a lot of the books. But I lost my train of thought. I haven't really read anything like multiple times, other than like I think perhaps Ender's Game might be the only book I've read more than once.
Really, huh?
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've read that.
There are some that I would certainly like to read again, but as I've mentioned, my free time to read is very limited. So maybe I'm just making up excuses.
Understandable, sir.
But that's, I guess, my answer. If Star Wars counts, then definitely Star Wars.
Yeah, we can say Star Wars. That's fine.
I mean, I read a lot of the different series, and all the old legends, as they call them now, because Disney went and nixed them.
Those guys.
We love Disney. Disney's great.
Yeah, we love Disney. Definitely. Anyways, I know. Okay, this second question is split into 2 parts.
Yes.
It's gonna be my first time on the younger sibling part.
Interesting.
But for the older sibling, a character you want to protect.
Just any character from anything. That's interesting. Well, I feel like there could be a lot, honestly. I mean, like, literally my first thought is Vin from Mistborn.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I don't really know, like, she doesn't necessarily need protecting after the first book, at least, right? Like,
yeah.
I guess that's my answer. I don't know if I have any other really good ones.
That's a good one.
Because here we are with the same issue that I keep having, that it's not really something I've ever thought about before, but it shouldn't be that hard.
It is. No.
Yeah. Do you think so?
No.
What's your question? Is it different than that one?
I think it's what a character I look up to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, what would be your answer for A?
For A,
I'm curious.
Well, just for me from recent reading, I could say something for Prophet and the Grey Mouse because I just reread a novella, but that spoils it. So I'll go with something from like Conan, or this is Cole actually. So it's written by the same guy. He's the pre-Conan. But wow, Cozy's loud. Anyways,
I thought that was
and
my kid.
and this just because these are short stories and they're only short stories. So I mean, like for example, there's a just to give like to be general, right? In the last story I read, there's a girl named Del Cartes. Del Cartes. I don't actually know how to say her name. But and I think she's only in that story. You know, so she's just a damsel in distress type of
Ah,
thing.
yeah.
It's actually done like not super insultingly, you know what I mean? But she is there, you know what I mean? So like Cole's like, hey, I'll let you take me and kill me if you let her go, and they're like, no, and so he starts killing everyone, right? Um, and right, so in that sense, right, she's kind of the damsel in distress, but she's got power. They make that clear. She just doesn't have physical power so much, but so in that sense, like Del Cartes, you know what I mean? But she's just a minor character, like I said, that I'm pretty sure only appears in this one story. What I think is cool, though, and I kind of associate just with this author in general. It's his birthday. I mentioned that in
Oh
the
yeah, I
signal
saw that
test, so
earlier.
that's why I was reading it today. But is like because I can see in some ways maybe this is what I don't know. Maybe you call it projecting. I feel sorry for the author, like himself. You know what I mean? Like, and do I want to protect the author? No, he's been dead for a long time. You know what I mean? But like, it's like, in some sense, he seems like a good guy, you know, but he's also seems like I think they're pretty sure he had depression. He died when he was 30. He committed suicide.
Jeez.
And so his writing career, I think, was only like a decade or maybe less, and he's like probably one of the most influential writers of the 20th century. Um, and I feel sorry for him. So in a sense, like I want to protect Mr. Bob over here. And so it's just like because I feel sorry for him. You know what I mean? Like that's sad to me. Like
Yeah.
the guy died when he was 30. Like that's sad. You know what I mean? So when I read stuff like in his stories, in his books, you know, that have like these attachment things, you know, like because his characters are generally pretty good guys. They're kind of gray characters, but in the end they're generally good guys still. Um, and it's just like it's funny because like Conan in some sense is like basically the character he wanted to be, like the person that he kind of wanted to be. That's what people say. And Cole
Yeah.
is kind of more like who he is. But Cole's still awesome, you know, and he's chivalric in a sense, you know. But he's also, you know, this noble savage type thing. You know, so it's just like I associate it with Robert E. Howard though. It's like I feel sorry for Robert E. Howard, you know, and so it's like easy for me to connect to his writing because it's really good writing. But you're like you also know that this guy was writing in like the throes of depression. You know what I mean? And as he was writing this stuff, you know, like he killed himself, like actually. So right, like and so I was like, that's easy to I feel like to get more emotion out of me at least when I'm reading it.
Yeah.
So I mean like
Understandable.
that's like vaguely like that's tangential to the question I think, but still.
I mean, I feel like any answer is appropriate, to be honest. I thought of another one for myself. Do you remember Crocus from Gardens of the Moon?
Oh
Crocus,
yeah, yeah,
Crocus. Yeah, he'd be one.
yeah. He's a good one. Yeah, he's a good one.
Yeah.
There's one in Dead House Gates, fellas, and who's like she's kind of tragic.
Oh
So
yeah.
in a sense, I feel
I'm gonna
like in
find
Dead
out,
House
I guess.
Gates.
I'm gonna find
So
out.
I don't know. Maybe some people would get offended. I think if I call her tragic, but maybe not. I don't know. So,
I'll let you know when I find out. I'll come back to this.
okay, good. But I guess for my part of the question, technically, a character I look up to, um, just just any good character. You know what I mean? Like they don't even have to be like a knight in shining armor, you know, type of thing. Like, but like I said earlier, Cole. You know what I mean? Like he's this barbarian basically, but he's kind of just doing the best he can and just doing what he thinks is right. In some cases, he doesn't even want to do it. So, I mean, like, or like I'm reading this other book right now, And this book is freaking dope, by the way. It's called In the Grip of the Minotaur. It came out in 1916, and it is about. You ever heard of the Minoans, like the Minoan civilization?
Sounds
They were
familiar.
they were basically the guys who controlled a lot of the Mediterranean, like Greece, and their capital would have been on Crete before the actual Greeks, right? Because we don't think they were Greeks. And their civilization collapsed 1400 BC or something, so a long time ago. And this is basically saying that the reason their civilization collapsed is because of Vikings, basically.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
just like, yo, that's dope. Like,
Yeah.
that's just a freaking cool. Like the book starts with these. They're not technically Vikings, right? Because this is way before that, technically. But in some sense, they're like the ancestors of the people who would have, gone a Vikinging or whatever. And but in some ways realistic because they would have been the Nordic Bronze Age culture. And so he comes trading amber, which is what they actually traded. There's research done that this I'm getting off topic because I think it's so cool, but there's research done that culture is actually the richest in Europe, like at the time, richer than the Greeks. You know what I mean? They just didn't freaking write stuff down, so who cares?
Interesting.
And so and they exported amber. That was their main exportation. Right? And so he comes selling amber. Basically, I was like, that makes sense because we have this tendency to think of like these people so long ago as like isolated communities, and it's like that's almost never been the case. I mean, they're always trading, almost essentially, right? And so, yeah, it's really freaking cool. But the guy in here is also he's like chivalric in a sense,
Yeah.
He's like
interesting.
It's cute in a sense. It's like romantic, but it's like also really cool. So, yeah. Anyways,
that does sound pretty cool.
I'm gonna talk more about this book on my channel in the future. I think I'm not even that far in it. I'm like 40 pages in. So
yeah, 40 pages in. You seem pretty excited about it. It does sound pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's dope, yo. It does. But yeah. Anyways, so I look up to that like Ragnar and Cole and Conan and maybe a little less so like Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. I look up to them in like a D&D sense.
Yeah.
Like because Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser were all these guys were actually big influences on D&D. Like they're cited by Gary Gygax and like the Dungeon Masters guy and stuff. Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser is probably the most D&D like books pre D&D, right? Like the guys are retarded essentially. Like they are so dumb sometimes. They're just doing stupid things, like getting drunk and then like, oh, let's go steal something like this. So like there's one story where they steal a shed. They try to steal just a freaking shed. It's just like, or like they get tricked by these women, and so like the story's called The Two Best Thieves in Linkmar, and it's not them. So you would think it'd be about them because they're thieves, but it's not them because they're idiots, essentially. So like, or it's so dumb. There's a ton of adventures like that, but they're basically like the rogues that like D&D like characters I would say honestly based off of, because like they're just so realistic in that sense. They're basically, it's like a bromance. It's like the best bromance in fantasy, and they have a thieves guild, which I think is where the idea of a thieves guild comes from actually. So they're I look up to them as a D&D player. I look up to them. It's like,
just from the little you mentioned, that sounds pretty D&D, pretty D&D-esque.
They're so dumb. It's hilarious.
Or rather, D&D sounds like that, I suppose.
Right? Yeah, exactly. No, it's so freaking funny. Honestly, there's just times where like, wow, you guys are idiots. There's one time I think in one of the stories where Fafhrd is trying to spell his name and he spells it wrong, and it's just like. They're like, what? So it's so dumb. Yeah.
It's great.
No, yeah, it is great. I think there's only one more question though.
Yeah, number 10.
A character you'd want to be siblings with.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot that'd be fairly easy. Like for example, a character you look up to, like the easiest thing I feel like you could ever say is like Aragorn. Like
right. Exactly, actually.
And why wouldn't you want to also be siblings with Aragorn? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, or even like Samwise.
True, yeah, he's awesome. Like, but I guess relative to something that I've read I fairly recently, it was a couple years ago at this point, I think, but Book of the Long Song, I think Patera Silk is a very genuine person, and he would be a good sibling, I think.
I think so too. Actually, I was gonna say exactly the same.
Nice, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, I remember I talked to this one guy. He's an author. You wrote Empire of Silence, so Christopher, right?
Oh,
Christopher
cool.
Accio. And I talked to him some, but he always tells people that because some people are turned off from Book of the New Sun because Severian is kind of a monster sometimes, and
Yeah.
like he's actually a really great character, I think, because some pages you absolutely hate him and want him to die, and other pages like, wow, he just did something fantastic, what a great guy. But Patera Silk is like not that, because Patera Silk is literally like a priest, and he's so genuine. He goes in the
Yeah.
freaking brothel. It's not much of a spoil, but he's like in the brothel in the first book, and he's like, yeah, cover up, please.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I just feel like he genuinely cares about. Remember that little girl that he meets in like the alleyway, and she's like sick or something? I don't even remember the full scene because it's been a couple of years now, and that's a fairly minor scene. But do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think there's someone he helps try to like.
Yeah,
I think he's trying to eat food or something, and then he was like, "Oh, I have to do this instead." And
well, no, I vaguely, from what I remember, he like makes sure to come back and help her. I don't remember exactly what the situation was, or whatever. He does the best that he can for sure, and he just gets thrown into this extremely bizarre situation.
yeah,
I suppose.
yeah. I like Patera Silk a lot. Right, like I said,
Yeah,
I was gonna say exactly the same thing. I was like,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
Patera Silk.
That's funny.
He's someone I want to be my brother.
I
Like,
wouldn't have expected you to say that, but I hadn't even thought about it ahead of time either. Just like off the top, that was the first one that came to mind.
so what that means is everyone should go read Gene Wolfe.
Agree, for sure.
You don't have to start with Book of the New Sun if that like sounds like too intimidating. You can just read Book of the Long Sun. You started with Book of the Long Sun, so
I did start with Book of the Long Sun, which was very weird. But he has other interesting things as well. What is The Knight and the Wizard?
Oh yeah, I gotta read that too.
Yep, I haven't read them yet, but
there's too much.
I'm going to. There is too much. Nope, lost my train of thought again. I was definitely gonna say something else. Don't remember.
Yeah, the two authors, or no, I would say even three authors, because I read a lot of authors, but like three authors who I'm just like, if it's been a couple months and I haven't read a book by them, I'm like, I need to pick up something by this author. It's Fritz Leiber, who wrote Far from the Grey Mouser, Gene Wolfe, and Jack Vance, who wrote The Dying Earth.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, Vance is awesome. I am too. So, actually, the cool thing, I have that. I think I told you about it. The Citadel, or the Castle of the Otter. It's what one news company said the fourth book was going to be called. The Citadel of the Autarch, the Castle of the Otter. And so he made like this little book of like essays type stuff to go along with the release of Citadel of the Autarch. And he's just like, it's funny because I think it's only in the first essay there, and he talks about like how you want people to like take out your book, like read it and love it, put it on the shelf and just take it off sometimes and just look at it, you know what I mean? Like, and he basically says that book for him, which is the gold book, because you remember Severian has his books, he just calls them by the color they are. So the gold book is essentially just this, right? The book you're supposed to like. But in Wolfe's mind, the gold book that Severian has is The Dying Earth by Jack Vance. So, which makes sense. They're both Dying Earth books.
Yeah.
And Vance is really cool. He's a lot more whimsical. He's a lot less deep in some senses, but like.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. Gene Wolfe might be my favorite author at this point. And before I read Dune, everyone that I heard talk about the book Dune is like, oh, it's so hard to read and like, blah blah blah. Whatever. There was a lot of negativity around it. Like, oh, the first half of the book's awful. The second half, it's great. And I'm like, whatever you say. And I had just come off of reading Gene Wolfe. I think I finished Book of the New Sun and then went into Dune. And Dune was a cakewalk compared to Gene Wolfe. Like,
yeah.
So I always like telling people that.
I think I read Dune before reading Gene Wolfe, but even then, I thought Dune was easy.
Yeah, you did read
in some ways. So.
I think I liked the first half of Dune more than the second half.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I really
Yeah,
enjoyed like all the family, like the
the
political.
setup is great.
Yeah,
It's done really well,
I really
actually.
enjoyed
So
it. Whereas other people apparently didn't. So I don't know.
yeah, I always found that odd too, actually, because they're like, oh, it's so boring and dull and hard to get through. I'm like I felt like I read the first 100 pages in like one setting almost. I
Yeah,
mean, like it was like this is good. It wasn't even
yeah,
like it's not just easy; it's entertaining. So it's
I
like, and
agree.
maybe that's why it's easy, because it's entertaining. And I
Right.
guess some people aren't
Oh,
entertained by that. So,
now my daughter's yelling outside the door.
well,
Anyway,
that is all the questions. So I mean,
yeah, it was
um,
fun. Thanks for having me.
yeah, thanks for coming on, sir.
Of
Um,
course.
we're gonna have to. One thing I really wanted to do is if I didn't have a lot to say about Warcraft, the Warhammer book, rather at the end of it. I mean, it was fun, um, but I've had Cullen on the channel before. So I mean, but if we ever all like three read a book again, and I was like, and there's actually stuff to talk about, I feel like, um, then we should do that.
Just just have like a round table discussion.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly. If we could get Cullen to read Book of the New Sun, actually, I wouldn't have a problem doing it
I
with
don't
that.
think that's gonna happen.
So it probably isn't going to happen, but
But
um,
I mean, we could have. Didn't you do that? Didn't you have a discussion about that with someone else's channel or something?
yeah, I did actually.
I remember
So
watching it. It was great. And that would have been
yeah.
fun to do. I feel like for that book or for that series, it's been too far for me to be able to have a good. Oh,
Hmm.
we could probably still have good conversation, but right, it's been a while. But
Yeah, I already want to reread it.
when we both finish the Long Sun, we could potentially do that.
That's true. Yeah, actually. So I'm gonna. I have the problem with you actually, kind of like you, is I'm just like I want to read this and I want to read
Yeah,
this, and so like
right.
some books take me way too long to finish because I started three other books.
I,
Um,
I'm in the
but
middle of two right now, and I have also simultaneously listened to an audiobook and finished that. So yeah, it's a problem.
yeah, so I'm somehow gonna squeeze Lake of the Long Sun in, and it should be fine actually. Generally, the weird thing is that generally with my Gene Wolfe reading is I generally actually read them really quickly.
I
I think I read like Claw the Conciliator in like 2 days.
I think when you start it, you're not gonna want to read any of your other books, so you're gonna
Yeah,
yeah.
right. And it kind of had a similar experience with. Well, actually, Fifth Head of Cerberus was a little different because I read the first story really quickly, and the second story was like just a little tougher, and so I didn't read it as quickly. But then I read like all of the third story in like one sitting, I think. So,
Sounds about right.
but anyways, so we'll see what we come up with later. But again, I guess that is the end of the tag. I'm totally going to split this. I don't know if anyone's going to watch this all the way through, but so like that is always the case when I make a longer video. But um, yeah, thanks again for joining, though.
Yeah, of course.
So
Thanks for
they've been
bringing me
trying
on.
forever. No,
What'd you say? I
so,
didn't hear you.
been trying forever to get you
Oh,
on here.
that's true. Yeah, I'm bad at this thing. Sorry.
You are busy, so
Yeah,
it is fine. And I am often pretty busy, but not so
true.
much right now. So, um, yeah. Anyways, I'll end this. It takes 2 clicks, but anyways, peace.
Peace.